In the tranquil desert town of Adelanto, California, nestled within the Mojave Desert, an air of serenity is often disrupted by shocking tales of crime. But none have rattled this small community as much as the brutal double homicide of John and Lisa Parker in late 2019. This narrative takes us through the heart-wrenching details of that fateful night, the dark descent of their son, David Parker, and the relentless pursuit of justice that followed. It was a quiet autumn evening in late 2019. John and Lisa Parker were at home enjoying what seemed like a normal night. John, 67, and Lisa, 65, were both retired and known for their active involvement in the local community. That night, they had no inkling of the horror that awaited them. David Parker, their 32-year-old estranged son, had been experiencing severe mental health issues. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, David had a history of erratic behavior and violent outbursts, particularly when he was off his medication. On this particular evening, David was in the grips of a delusional episode. David arrived at his parents' home unannounced. Witnesses later reported seeing him in an agitated state earlier that day, wandering aimlessly and talking to himself. As he approached the house, David's delusions intensified, causing him to believe that his parents were plotting against him. Upon entering the home, David was met with concern from his parents. However, their attempts to calm him down only fueled his paranoia. The situation escalated quickly. An argument broke out in the living room, with David accusing his parents of things that made no sense to them. The Parkers, alarmed by his aggression, tried to de-escalate the situation, but David's mind was consumed by his delusions. The argument turned physical when David, in a fit of rage, grabbed a kitchen knife. The ensuing struggle was chaotic and violent. John attempted to protect his wife, but David, driven by a terrifying combination of strength and psychosis, overpowered them. John was the first to be attacked. He sustained multiple stab wounds to the chest and abdomen as he tried to shield Lisa. Despite his injuries, John fought back, trying to disarm David, but he eventually succumbed to his wounds. Lisa, witnessing the attack on her husband, screamed for help, but their home, situated in a relatively secluded area, meant that no immediate assistance was forthcoming. David then turned his attention to his mother. The autopsy later revealed that Lisa had been stabbed multiple times in the torso and neck, suggesting a frenzied and unrelenting attack. Once the horrific deed was done, David fled the scene. The house was left in a state of utter devastation, with furniture overturned and blood spattered across the walls and floor. The bodies of John and Lisa were discovered the following morning by a concerned neighbor who noticed the front door ajar and decided to check in. The police were called to the scene, and it quickly became apparent that this was not a random act of violence, but a targeted attack by someone close to the victims. Evidence collected at the scene, including fingerprints and the murder weapon, pointed directly to David. A nationwide manhunt was launched to apprehend David Parker. For weeks, law enforcement agencies scoured the state, following up on leads and tips from the public. The search ended when David was found living under an assumed name in a homeless encampment in Los Angeles. He was emaciated, disheveled, and clearly unwell when he was taken into custody. The trial. During his trial, David's defense team highlighted his severe mental illness, arguing that he was not in control of his actions at the time of the murders. Expert witnesses described his condition, explaining how his untreated schizophrenia led to the tragic events of that night. Despite the defense's arguments, the jury found David guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to a mental health facility for treatment, with the possibility of parole upon significant improvement of his condition. The aftermath, a community's healing. The double homicide left a deep scar on the Adelanto community. John and Lisa Parker were remembered in a heart-wrenching memorial service that brought the town together in collective mourning. Their legacy of kindness and community spirit endured, with many residents vowing to carry forward their charitable efforts. In the years following the tragedy, there was a renewed focus on mental health awareness and support within the community. Local organizations and advocacy groups worked tirelessly to provide resources for those struggling with mental illness and their families. The Parker tragedy became a catalyst for positive change, spurring efforts to prevent similar incidents in the future. Reflection, a tale of love, loss, and resilience. The story of the Parker double homicide is one of profound tragedy, underscored by the complexities of mental illness and the enduring love of a family torn apart. It serves as a stark reminder of the importance of mental health care and the need for compassion and understanding in dealing with those who suffer from severe psychological disorders. As Adelanto continues to heal, the memory of John and Lisa Parker lives on, inspiring acts of kindness and community spirit. Their story, though marked by sorrow, also highlights the resilience of a community determined to find light in the darkest of times. Thanks for watching. Please check out our other videos on horror and true crime stories, and remember, be captivated, terrified, and intrigued. Stay curious, stay brave, stay haunted.